Hello there. This lecture is a review of redistricting and gerrymandering. Redistricting happens every 10 years, obviously after a census. After states are told how many districts they have been apportioned, the new state legislature usually draws the districts. Though you guys watched the documentary on gerrymandering last week, there are a couple of states that no longer allow their state legislatures to draw districts because it usually almost always results in gerrymandering. Gerrymandering occurs when the party in charge and the state government draws the lines in a manner that favors their political party. This is technically only illegal if done racially or if it disenfranchises a specific type of voter. I'm going to have you guys read an article from the Washington Post. It's actually your first flipped assignment. I don't know why it says flipped 2. This is your flipped 1 assignment. So you'll read the attached Washington Post article. And you will identify the 2 pieces of criteria that states must meet in order to legally get away with gerrymandering, and also answer the question, sort of the challenges to gerrymandering in the Supreme Court coming out of Florida. What are the challenges coming out of North Carolina? Alright, so one of the advantages of an incumbent in Congress is that they can tout their record. That usually comes in the form of casework, or pork, also known as earmarks. We've gone over what those are in class, but just to review, pork, or earmarks, are things put into a bill that put aside money or permission to do things that are useful to a congressman's district. Usually we call it pork if we're trying to characterize it as something negative, like so-and-so put a bunch of pork in the bill and now it's going to cost like $50 billion. Earmarks tend to be, it means the exact same thing, but it tends to be used in a more positive way, like this money has been earmarked for our district so that we can have more infrastructure. Isn't that great? Then casework are just things that congressmen do specifically for their district. So they might fight for, if they have like a heavy veteran population, they might fight for more resources for veterans, any number of things like that. Other powers of incumbents is that they have name recognition and no term limits. This means that incumbents can get reelected until they die if they want, and sometimes that does happen, though it's less common these days. It still happens kind of a lot. They also have access to the media to shape and frame issues, especially if you have a leadership position in Congress. You're going to be on TV all the time. And that allows you to make your argument more so than like a candidate who has never been in Congress and who just doesn't have a face for TV. You got the Franken privilege with the post office. You have access to fundraising. You automatically get more campaign contributions and PAC money because you do have name recognition and because people donating to campaigns tend to want to donate to people that are more likely to win, and everyone knows that incumbents are more likely to win. It's kind of a chicken or the egg thing. I don't really know if incumbents win because they have more money or if they have more money because they win. Who can say? They also have the benefit of gerrymandering. Typically, state legislatures will draw districts so that people in the federal Congress are kind of gerrymandered into their districts. That's called a safe seat. And then, despite having record low approval ratings, 90% of the House and 91% of Senate members are often reelected, even though, again, their approval ratings have been like 13 and below in the past few years. It's just because people tend to not research as much, and they tend to vote for the person that they see on TV the most or whose name they recognize. And other advantages of being an incumbent in Congress. You have access to advertising. There's, again, media visibility. You can take free trips home. You have free access to newsletters, technology, the mail. All of that is free to you as an incumbent. You can claim credit for stuff. And that happens kind of a lot. Who was it from Kentucky? Was it Mitch McConnell? Is that what I'm thinking of? His state heavily benefited from Obamacare, and so when he goes back home to his state to talk about Obamacare, he's not touting how he like put the brakes on it and really stuck it to the Obama administration. He's always touting how he got Republicans to calm down and work together, and like how he made sure that his state, even though the Republicans overall don't like Obamacare, had access to the ACA. So they do casework, they do pork barrel, federal projects, grants, things like that. Let's see, position taking. They can portray themselves as hardworking, dedicated individuals. It really helps when you have access to like the media and PACs that'll give you money to make commercials that film you actively helping people in the communities that you represent, or working hard with like a hard hat or whatever. I don't know. There are some weird media pieces out there put out by congressional members. Occasionally, they might take a partisan stand on an issue. Usually, or at least historically, that has not been so much the case. It's becoming more and more common. Simply because, especially in the Senate, you're representing not just a district, you're representing the whole state, and you don't want to alienate a whole swath of people, so you try to be as vague as possible on issues. In 2011, Congress voted to ban earmarks. The 112th Congress voted to ban earmarks. It was adopted by the 113th Congress as well. You may recognize these years as years in which Congress's approval ratings went way down, and the amount of bills that they passed also went way down. And a lot of that has to do with this ban. It was meant to be something that made Congress look good. Look, we got rid of irrational spending. But the problem is that earmarks in bills are what give congressmen leverage. It's what allows them to compromise with one another. And when you take away what they compromise with, even though it seems kind of wasteful, they're not very likely to be able to get anything done, right? If you are trying to pass a heavily Republican bill and you know that there are some moderate Democrats that need certain things, maybe infrastructure or school-wise in their state, you might offer to stick some earmarks in there for those things, and then they might be swayed to your side. But when you take away earmarks, again, that's how compromise is made in Congress, it kind of screws everything up. All right, so your last flipped assignment is to watch this video from CNN. It's posted on, it's one of the links. After you watch it, answer these questions. What do you think about politicians using earmarks and then saying that they're not earmarks? Can pork ever really go away, and should it? Yep, that's it. I will see you all tomorrow.